And welcome back to the Voices of Summer alongside Anthony Piero. I'm Chris Potetto, and now it's time to touch on some of the big market teams that have created some financial restraints on themselves over the last couple of years. And of course, three teams that we have to talk about that have kind of been locked into their situation for a little while: the Philadelphia Phillies, the Boston Red Sox, and the New York Yankees. I mean, first off with the Phillies, the contracts that they hand out to Cliff Lee, to Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, it's guys that you have to bring in to compete. And you have that window to win a World Series in about 2 or 3 years. But after that, you know, you're paying guys that are getting up to the mid to late 30s a lot of money, and you know, it kind of straps you down to have some maneuverability around the rest of your roster.
It's a risk that obviously going to have to take. All teams eventually at one point or another going to have to, be able to pay their star players to keep them, and it's always a risk, these long-term contracts. We're seeing that with the Phillies now. They had their window, and obviously it's closing as age is starting to catch up to them. But they're still at a point where financially, I think the Phillies are a team that can quickly overcome some of the obstacles that they currently are dealing with because of the money that they do have at the disposal.
How about the New York Yankees? Now, we know that they're full of money. They can go out and spend as much as they want, but now they're starting to have it catch up to them a little bit with the contracts they've handed out to Teixeira, to CeCe, and Alex Rodriguez, of course, that run deep into their late 30s and even 40s. You're paying them over $20 million a year. And you have some guys that are extremely important to the success of your team, like Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter, who are getting up there in age, considering retiring in a couple of years. The financial situation for them is something that we've never seen with them before, because they've given out so much money that they're actually trying to take it a step back a little bit and really put some limits on how they spend their money, who they spend their money on. And over the last couple of off seasons, we haven't seen them spend money on the big-time free agent.
Well, they're trying to get under the cap, of course, for next year, the 189. That's their goal for next season, would save them some money going forward. But again, I mean, the Yankees are in a similar position in that they have a lot of money to spend. That's not going to be an issue for them, so they're going to be able to pay the players that they need to. And of course, obviously, with Cano coming up, he's the next one that's going to get his money from them.
Before we get to Cano, how about the Boston Red Sox? I mean, a couple of years ago, we saw them go on a complete spending spree, spending money over $140 million on Crawford, $170 million on Adrian Gonzalez, bringing in guys that will be with the team, till the late 30s, like 36, 37 range. But once they had a start of a bad season, they decided to completely demolish the team, get rid of those guys. And fortunately enough for them, they were able to get rid of those big contracts so they weren't weighed down. But even now, they're not handing out big contracts, but they're spending money on guys 2 to 3 year deals to try and hold over the next couple of years so they can compete while the farm system kind of develops so they can come to the major league level.
And obviously, the farm system's so critical, especially, nowadays with all the big money that we see handed out by these free agents, to these free agents, especially from a pitching perspective. It's so important to have a quality farm system that you could go down to and grab some individuals out, especially from the pitching side of it. I mean, we've seen some of the contracts that have been giving out recently, just so expensive. So it's important to be able to build up that farm system and to be able to bring some guys up that can contribute.
Now, some teams that have given out those big contracts over the last 2 years, 3 teams that stand out, and for me, I don't understand how they haven't learned yet from watching the Phillies, the Yankees, and the Red Sox, but just the Angels, for instance, they go out, they spend money on not only Albert Pujols, who gets a 10-year, $240 million deal, but then they go out and spend money on Josh Hamilton, 5 years, $133 million. Now, I understand that you want to make the big splash to become that upper echelon team, compete for a World Series every year, but they have a guy like Mike Trout waiting in the weeds. Eventually, he's going to have to get paid, and you're going to be spending $30 million on Albert Pujols when he's 41. I don't understand some of the contracts that some of these big market teams are handing out to players.
And of course, they kind of neglected the pitching side of it, especially with Weaver now just going down recently, going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. Definitely, pitching was already an issue going into the season and could be looked at as a weakness on that team. And now with their ace going down, definitely could create some issues.
Many people might consider the Detroit Tigers the best team in all of the American League. They lock up their ace, Justin Verlander, 7 years, $180 million. With incentives, it could extend to over $200 million. Just 2 years ago, 9 years, $214 million they hand out to Prince Fielder. I mean, again, it's teams handing out money to a select few guys that will be taking in a lot of money. Again, they have to pay Miguel Cabrera and lock him in because you're not going to let a Triple Crown winner walk away.
That's what you have to do. I mean, these are star players. If these teams are not going to pay them, they're going to get the money elsewhere. So that's what it costs nowadays to lock up your superstar players.
Now, the final team that continues to spend and with new ownership, new TV deal, the Los Angeles Dodgers. They bring in all the high-paid players from the Red Sox, Adrian Gonzalez, Josh Beckett, Crawford. They insert them into their starting lineup. They lock up Kemp for a while. They have Hanley Ramirez under contract until next year. And what situation are they in? Because yeah, they have a window now with some really good talent to compete for a World Series. But in that back end of the contract, 3 years from now, you're going to be spending a boatload of money on guys that are in their mid to late 30s and not playing at the same level as they are right now.
Well, again, I mean, supposedly the Dodgers' money is no issue. They have the new TV network starting up, so I mean, they've made it clear that they're going to be willing to spend all and any money that they possibly can to bring in the talent. Of course, Kershaw's deal is coming up next, and he's going to get his money from the Dodgers. And Kershaw has a lot going for him. Of course, he's only 25 years old. You look at everything that he's accomplished already. He's won a Cy Young Award, of course, also winning the pitching Triple Crown a couple years back. And the great thing about Kershaw is not only does he have the great physical talent, but he's also very smart. He's a very smart pitcher. He knows how to work counts. He knows exactly, it seems like, when to throw a certain pitch in a certain situation. And also, he just has a great reputation, too, a guy like Kershaw, both on and off the field. Last year won the Roberto Clemente Award. So he's just a gamer. He's a tough pitcher. He's a gamer. So that's another, obviously, contract the Dodgers are going to have to be coming up. They're going to have to pay Kershaw.
With Kershaw, I think, personally, he might be the one guy to break that $200 million mark as a pitcher. I mean, we see the contracts handed out to Verlander, even Felix Hernandez getting 7 years, $175 million. If there was a pitcher to break $200 million, I think Kershaw is in the perfect situation. As you mentioned, all the accolades that he's won.
And again, plus the age too.
Yeah,
I mean,
only at
Verlander,
25.
30 years old, got his contract extension. Obviously, Felix Hernandez is the most closest in age. Felix Hernandez was 26, but other recent contract extensions for pitchers, Kane, he was 28. Obviously, you go to CC Sabathia, Wainwright recently, when they got their new extensions, they were both 31. Hamels was 28. So Kershaw, being at only 25 and everything that he's accomplished already up until this point, is obviously in for a very nice payday.
Now, you mentioned Cano, arguably the best second baseman in all of baseball over the past couple of years. A guy that we see some position players, Elvis Andrus getting 8 years, $120 million from
I thought that was a good move for the Rangers. Obviously, now it secures that middle of the infield. You have Ian Kinsler at second. Now you lock up Andrews at shortstop, so you have that middle infield, 2 all-stars taken care of.
So I guess you like Buster Posey as well, locking him up for the San Francisco Giants.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not only what it gives you from an offensive point of view, but of course the recent success the Giants have had. They've been built around the starting pitching, and you can't minimize the effect that Posey has had in dealing with that staff on a everyday basis. He's done a tremendous job, and Bruce Bochy has given him a lot of credit for how he has dealt with the pitching staff of the San Francisco Giants.
Now, both Posey and Andrus are much younger than Robinson Cano, but Cano, at age 30, his contract expires at the end of the 2013 regular season. Do you see him getting a big around $200 million deal through age 40 with the New York Yankees, or is there a possibility that he's on
I mean, the Yankees have no choice. I mean, you looked at all the stars on this Yankee team; they're all aging. The only one that's in their prime is Cano, so they have no other choice but to keep Robinson Cano. I think it definitely helps that recently Cano signed on with Jay-Z's new agency. Obviously, Jay-Z is a New York guy; he's a huge Yankee fan, right? He once said that no one has made the Yankee cap more popular,
more famous than a Yankee fan.
Yeah, so he's a big Yankee fan. He has Robinson Cano now, the face of his new sports agency. So, and plus, I think Robinson Cano